Hi, I'm Heather, that's Chantel, and we're Book Wild.
Today's video we're going to be talking about our rating system so that when we are doing our wrap-ups and talking about books, you guys have a reference for how we rate books and what those ratings mean. So we have all the windows open. It's pretty, well, it's kind of cool, but the wind is
Winding.
happening behind us, so if you can hear that, which you probably can,
Sorry. So Chantel and I abide by the Goodreads 5-star system, but what we determine to be each star rating is a little bit different. So Chantel's going to give her version and then I'm going to give mine.
Yeah, so I think our base system is pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
So starting with 1 star, for me, 1 star is a book that was awful. Just writing was bad, characters had no pull, that like there was absolutely nothing good about the book. And if I guess I only rate books that I finish, yeah, it was just like not a good reading experience. Nothing I would recommend about that book. A 2-star read is a book that had either a really good premise or, I mean, I guess 1-star books can have a really good premise. But for me, a 2-star book is something that had some potential in it. I didn't absolutely hate the book or the reading experience. It had a redeeming quality, but it just fell flat and didn't deliver whatsoever. A 3-star book is a book that was okay, I think middle of the road. A lot of 3-star reads for me. I do pick up a lot of YA, and I find I rate a lot of YA.
Or like easy reads.
Yeah.
Easy reads.
3 stars. And that doesn't mean it's a bad book. A lot of books that I really, really enjoy in the moment are 3-star books, but it's a book, it's twofold. Either a book that I really enjoyed at the time, but it's probably not one that's going to stick with me for a while, or it's a book that I really liked but had some major issues with either the plot development or characters or the writing. There was just something in those that factored into me really not enjoying the book. So kind of twofold. And then a 4-star book is a book that I really loved. I enjoyed the characters or the plot, or it's just a book that I really, really enjoyed. But something is lacking. Something's missing. I'm not able to commit to the full 5 stars. And then a 5-star book for me is a book that I loved so much and would recommend to everyone. Well, I guess I wouldn't recommend it to everyone because some people just wouldn't like it, but a book that I loved so dearly that I would read again and again. Like a 5-star is an all-time fave. And even with 5-star books, one of the last 5-star books I read was Ready Player One, and there was things in that book that I didn't like or that were a little bit too convenient. So while I was reading, I was like, oh, this could have been easily solved, and or could have been a little bit better in my opinion, but I still rated that 5 stars just because the characters, I loved them so much and I loved the journey and everything. So 5-star books aren't necessarily perfect books, but I just love them so much that they're perfect for me at the time of reading them. I also don't rate memoirs or nonfiction. I feel weird rating someone's life, and I think to talk about those books I would talk about different aspects or qualities of those books, but I feel weird reading someone's life or rating nonfiction just because nonfiction is so broad and there's so many different things of, you know, how nonfiction is delivered.
Right.
in story in the novel. So yeah, I don't rate memoirs or nonfiction.
So my rating system is generally pretty similar to Chantel's. There are a few differences. I do rate memoirs and nonfiction, but when I rate those books, I'm never rating the story or someone's life. Like you were saying, it's only about the writing style and my enjoyment of that book. So, you know, I can read a variety of books about Harriet Tubman's life, but they're not all equally well written, right? So some of them are 5 stars, some of them are 3 stars, but it has nothing to do with the story of Harriet Tubman. Just the method of in which they were delivered. I also do half-star ratings rarely, but I do. Whereas Chantel doesn't. She sticks to like the straight 5 stars. My first and second star ratings are the same as Chantel's. First star, nothing redeemable about this book. Hated it. No, bad. 2 stars are, I like the premise, but the writing didn't work for me personally. I couldn't connect to the book, or there were, you know, gaping plot holes, things like that, but it did have potential. 3 stars is similar. It's a fine read, but nothing that I enjoyed the book. It was fine. It was an enjoyable experience, but I'm probably not going to remember the book forever. 4 stars is a book that I love. So this is where we kind of get into a little bit difference, because for example, if I read Ready Player One and had the same exact reading experience and loved it, but I noticed those plot holes, I would rate that a 4 star, even if I adored it and it was one of my all-time favorites. It would still be a 4 star because it's not like a quote-unquote perfect book. I only rate books that I feel are well written, good character development. I personally enjoyed it. All those things make a 5-star book. And then a 4-star book is, you know, it could be perfect for me, but if there's stuff I notice that other people, not other people, but like
the mechanics of it.
Yeah, if I notice something like that doesn't bother me necessarily, but the mechanics of it are a little off, then I would still give it 4 stars. And I have gone back to my Goodreads and books that I've rated 5 stars after I was done reading it, because I was just like, I love this book so much. I loved it so much. There's no way it can be 5 stars. And then after I think about it for a while, I'm like, well, you know, there were these things that didn't quite work. I'll lower my rating to a 4 star.
I've done that also, where I'll rate a book. I think a lot of times I rate a book lower when I'm reading it, and then weeks or months later, I still have that book or a specific character in my mind, and I realize that it's really resonated with me, so I'll go back and change my rating to something a little bit higher, depending on what the original rating was. And also the other way around, I have rated books, I think it happens not as frequently, but I have rated books 5 stars, and I'm like, I loved that in the moment, but it's not a 5-star read, and I'll bring it down to 4.
Yeah. And we both totally recognize that these are all subjective, and like, you know, at the end of the day, we don't have a rubric of like
arbitrary.
Yeah, it's arbitrary. But that's generally how we rate books.
I always think of, do you remember from Whose Line Is It Anyways, when Drew Carey's like, this game show where the points don't matter and the winner gets nothing.
Hello, and welcome to Whose Line Is It Anyway, the show where everything is made up and the points don't matter.
Yeah.
I always think of my rating system like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the biggest difference is just that Chantel will rate books 5 stars even if there's something that didn't quite work for her and I wouldn't. That's like pretty much our own. And I do half stars and rate memoirs and nonfiction. Yeah.
Let us know if you rate books on a similar scale or system as how we do it, or if you have a completely different system. We definitely want to know.
Check out our previous videos to get an idea of the books that we've loved and not loved, and hit subscribe to see what books we love and don't love in the future.
Thanks for watching.